So, Ramesh Rashkar, MIT Media Lab. Oh yes, can we get some water? Can we get some water up the front? Someone, please. Thanks, Diana.
Thank you.
Yes, I mean, I was thrilled because I spent a little bit of time at the lab with the Digital Currency Initiative, sort of lived a little bit in awe of Ramesh and his team in the lab that he worked on. And he's won a bunch of awards, like leading data scientists in this space. And so I was very pleased to see a matter of a few months ago that you were launching your own decentralized AI initiative. You kindly invited me to speak at the summit, so that I've got to get you to come down here and talk about how, from all of that history that MIT has been through over the years, you look at this movement. And I suppose my first question to you, and it's interesting because Sandy Pentland, your colleague, asked me the question a moment ago, like, what does decentralized AI actually mean? And I will say one of your colleagues I bumped into last night said, we shouldn't be calling it decentralized AI, it's going to make everyone think of crypto and da-da-da-da. So and I think you even started the conference by saying, I'm not quite sure this is the right phrase. Can you just break all that down quickly for me? Like, what do you mean by decentralized AI, and why did you choose that name to describe what it is that you're doing? And then we'll talk about what you are doing.
All right. First of all, Michael, thank you and congratulations for bringing together this amazing group of people, especially Davos. I know how difficult it is to get this done, and fantastic set of speakers. So I've been really enjoying it all day. So, at MIT, we have a tradition of doing things like World Wide Web Consortium, or the Auto ID Center that brought all the RFID and barcodes together, and so on. And when you talk about decentralization and AI, as you know, some people are coming from the world of decentralization from crypto and DeFi and saying, how can we apply that to AI? And there's some people who are saying, hey, AI is great, but it's highly centralized, and how do we bring some decentralization to it? Is it the same thing or not? I don't know yet, but why not? Why not build these bridges between the Web3 community and the AI community that somehow want to get together? So my own bias is, I'm an AI researcher for 20, 25 years, and we would really like to bring AI into decentralization. So, my team invented one of the original algorithms for neural architecture search, which is AI writing AI. And we also invented privacy-preserving machine learning, called split learning, before federated learning. And more recently, we have been working on something called data market, which is how do you assign dollar value to the data you might be using, either for machine learning or not. And going back to the original question of what we mean by decentralized AI, we think there are inputs and there are outputs. So inputs for decentralization of AI are things like edge compute is becoming easier. The fact that you'll have very small models, maybe sub 1 billion parameter model that will do as well as some of the foundation models. And number 3 is that because of responsible AI and so on, we just need multiple players, multiple kind of eyes looking at the same thing. So if it's centralized, you have worries about responsibility. Those are the input, those are the trends that is going to drive decentralized AI. But why? What will it provide? So first is it will allow us to work, build AI across data silos. And the panel just one before this, I think said this very well with Sheila as a moderator. So being, ability to do AI across data silos will unlock literally trillions of dollars of economic value. So that's one output. The second output is that lack of centralization will allow us to have rapid growth in innovation, because now we can go to the edges, and even a kid in Nigeria can invent new things because now there's edge compute available, and they can work on data that they may not have access to. So that's the innovation at the edges. And number 3, which is probably the most important, is that there has to be an economy of AI. Right now, the economy of AI is very, very spoke and a hub. It reminds me of the original days of accessing the web, where I was a grad student, and you would over 26 kbps modem, you would talk to a mainframe, and you connect, and then you get some access to this mainframe, and that's how actually the AI works right now, which is I have a dumb browser and some smart computer or smart compute servers sitting with OpenAI and Gemini give me the service. So I have this dumb browser, I have no control over it. And very soon, in the web world, we moved away from that model of mainframes and spoke in the hub to the world of PCs and laptops and so on, where everybody had their own IP addresses, everybody had their own URLs, anybody could create websites, anybody could create sockets and so on. And that allowed us to really, the switch from internet to the World Wide Web. The web is what really unleashed, the economy and innovation back in those days. I think the same thing needs to happen now. We have highly centralized AI, but we're talking to the powers through browsers, and we need to kind of get away from that and have this, some people are calling it agents, some people are calling it nodes,
right.
Some people are calling it analogies from blockchain world, whatever you want to call them, but you're going to have billions, maybe trillions of these nodes that are all talking to each other.
So the history of the web, I think, is a great way to frame this, right? And I agree with you. Like, there's this vision. I think I tend to think the same way. This decentralizing is this movement toward the agents, David, the nodes. This idea that it's the swarm now, right? We're moving everything out, and that really was the first phase of the internet. We know that much, right? Internet 1.0 was like just certainly the read internet before we got to read write, and then the economics of the internet, and I'm glad you raised that term, it changed things. We need, once the data was unlocked and we needed to actually sort of like use that as the sort of the defining aspect of the World Wide Web, we somehow defaulted to, if not the centralized physical architecture, we certainly had centralized kind of like economic architecture.
That's right.
And so I suppose my key question here is, if we're moving to the edge, which is a good thing, it seems to me, how can we be assured that the same actors don't end up controlling that? And I want to just name one. I'm not saying they're necessarily bad, right? Remember, any conversation about the Magnificent Seven isn't about whether they're evil or not. It's about the incentives and how they get aligned. So NVIDIA, who spoke at your event, right, are doing a lot of work around edge compute. But NVIDIA are a huge piece of this very centralized economic structure right now.
Yeah.
Is there a risk that NVIDIA just ends up owning all the chips in those, in our laptops, in our phones, and whatever else that becomes part of that edge environment?
I mean, if the rest of the world remains foolish, NVIDIA deserves.
Well, there's no guarantee against that.
Yeah, I think if you see, sorry, if you look at how the industry plays out, if the rest of the world doesn't innovate, and doesn't, challenge the dominant player deserves to win. I mean, regulation and, antitrust aside. So I think it's more important to focus on the positive possibilities than worrying about a single player.
Yeah.
Because I think if you just create a level playing field, naturally good things will happen. And if certain players win because they're just providing great service, so be it. It's just that they should win economically. But like you said, you shouldn't let them be, power centers. And to be, I have worked at all the top companies myself. I was at Google. I, ran a big team at Facebook. I was on the Apple privacy team. Just sold my company to Alphabet. And I think what we have to realize is that many of these players that have a highly centralized power over the AI are reluctantly, not willingly, but reluctantly, are also in charge of the ethics behind it. Right? They would rather just go make money.
Yeah.
They have no intention of controlling the ethics behind it. So I think it's really up to us.
That's one of the reasons why Zuckerberg was very happy to announce that he was no longer, moderating
Exactly.
Facebook.
Give us regulation, we'll just follow it. They're happy with it. So I think we have to kind of see that, whether it's evil intention or they just want to make money. And I would say in terms of decentralized AI, we really have the opportunity to do that. Now, although we had the world of, if you go back to the analogy of PCs and so on, although we had decentralization of the edge computing, the Microsoft OS continues to dominate for quite some time. But then Linux came around, and it didn't displace everything because it had terrible UX.
No.
But at least displaced the back end of it.
But you had these big players that were able to compete with them, right? Apple competed with Microsoft, as did Google, and we were able to find some balance through that.
That's right.
Is there, given the massive economic war chest that a company like NVIDIA, I don't again, not just focus on NVIDIA, but the idea of NVIDIA, any of the big seven have, where they can actually acquire innovation. Can we arrive at that holy grail you're referring to, where the innovators find a way to challenge these leaders?
Absolutely.
Right now?
I don't see any challenge in doing that. I know you're focusing on NVIDIA. I'll paint a different kind of doomsday scenario. The possibility is that once the models are less than 1 billion, maybe less than half a billion. A lot of the services, everything that we expect to do training could become table stakes. It could become equivalent of Excel and PowerPoint, which is, it's so well understood now. Language, video, audio, medical imaging, pick any sector. The machine learning models for that are so commonplace that they could all become part of an OS layer. Okay, so any dominant player, that could be a company that sells OS, or it could be Telegram or Signal. Whoever has a massive user base could just launch a platform, let's call it a AI OS, where all the services are provided for free, nearly free, or they take some microtransactions for that. And there's no space left for innovation because everything is part of the OS.
The commoditization, basically, of the learning.
Commoditization, and also it can take over. So if you think about future hardware players, think like Acer or HP or whoever, could just become subservient to this monolith organization where they say, we sell hardware, and you are providing the AI layer, and we're just this low-margin hardware business.
Interesting.
Including NVIDIA could become a low-margin hardware business.
All right. Well, we've got lots of battles, different fronts to fight this battle on, but that's all part of the fun. All right, Ramesh, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.